After months of silence that felt like years to his fans, Dylan appeared again, as if stepping out of the shadows into a world that had already moved on without him. Cameras caught him the moment he set foot in the crowded lobby of a high-end hotel in the city, the kind of place where whispers spread faster than the click of a camera shutter. But this was not just another public sighting. There was something about the way he carried himself that sent a chill through the air. His eyes scanned the crowd, not in search of the flashing lights, but for someone only he seemed to know was there. That someone was Shen Yue. People who had been following their story since the early days knew there was more beneath the surface than either of them ever admitted. And now here they were, in the same place after so long. Shen Yue was standing by the elevator, dressed simply but with a poise that made it impossible not to notice her. When Dylan's gaze locked with hers across the marble floor, it was like time folded in on itself. No cameras, no noise, just a silent exchange that carried the weight of years of unspoken words. Witnesses described the scene in fragments. One said Dylan took a step forward, then stopped, as if weighing the cost of the next move. Another swore they saw Shen Yue's hands tighten around the strap of her bag as her lips pressed into a line. There was tension, but also something warmer, hidden under layers of pride and hurt. And then Dylan closed the distance between them in a slow, deliberate walk that seemed to drain the noise out of the room. The crowd's murmurs softened as he finally reached her. What they said to each other in those first few seconds will probably never be known. But those close enough claimed they saw a smile flicker across Shen Yue's face, gone almost as quickly as it came. Dylan leaned in just slightly, his voice low but intense, and Shen Yue's eyes seemed to soften. It was the kind of moment that could make people believe in second chances, even when everything else screamed that it was impossible. Later that evening, they were seen leaving together through a side exit, avoiding the main crowd. The car that picked them up had tinted windows, but one photographer managed to capture an image through the partially open door. Shen Yue was turned toward Dylan, speaking quickly with her hands, while Dylan listened in silence, his expression unreadable. The photo spread online within minutes, sparking a wildfire of theories. Some claimed this was proof of a secret reconciliation. Others insisted it was just closure, the final chapter of a story that had already ended. Yet the more people dug into that night, the stranger the story became. A source from the hotel revealed that Dylan had checked in under a different name, arriving 2 days before the sighting. Shen Yue had been spotted in the area just hours earlier, suggesting their meeting was anything but accidental. It raised the question of what had been happening in those unseen hours. Was this a planned reunion, or a collision of two separate paths that had been bound to cross again sooner or later? What truly set the internet ablaze was the leak of a short, grainy video recorded from the rooftop of a nearby building. It showed Dylan and Shen Yue on the hotel balcony late at night, the city lights painting their silhouettes in gold and silver. They stood close, their movements calm and deliberate, as if the rest of the world had vanished. At one point Dylan reached out, brushing something from Shen Yue's shoulder, and she laughed, the sound lost in the city's hum but visible in the tilt of her head. It was a moment so natural it almost erased all the years of distance between them. By morning, hashtags about their return flooded every platform. Fans split into camps, some defending the reunion as long overdue, others warning it would stir up old wounds. For Dylan, this appearance was more than just a return to the public eye. It was a statement, a reminder that his story with Shen Yue had never truly been closed. And for Shen Yue, it was a choice, one that carried the weight of every rumor, every whispered conversation, and every quiet moment they had shared away from the cameras. The truth about Dylan's return may never be fully known, but one thing became clear that night. Whatever had drawn them together again was powerful enough to silence the noise around them, if only for a few stolen moments. And for those who saw it, it was proof that some connections never fade, no matter how much time passes or how many storms they weather. The whispers began the moment Dylan stepped through the sliding glass doors of the hotel, his presence pulling the air tight and heavy around him. His eyes scanned the crowd like he was searching for someone, or perhaps confirming that someone had dared to follow him. People nearby stopped mid-conversation, glances bouncing from his face to the darkened corner of the lobby where a single figure sat, half hidden by shadows. That figure was Shen Yue. It was as if time had stopped for them both, but instead of rushing forward into an embrace, there was only stillness. A tension so thick that even the sound of a single dropped glass from the bar echoed like thunder. Dylan's steps were measured, deliberate, yet hesitant, each one pulling him closer to her table. Shen Yue did not stand. Her gaze was steady, unblinking, like she had been rehearsing this moment for days, maybe years. She sipped from her cup, her hand trembling ever so slightly, and when she placed it back on the table, the soft click was louder than it should have been. Dylan reached the edge of her table, but instead of sitting, he leaned forward, his voice low, almost a whisper. "You were supposed to stay away," he said, his tone not angry but weighed down with something much heavier. Her eyes flickered with a mix of defiance and sorrow. "You know I couldn't." Around them, the world continued, hotel staff carrying trays, guests dragging suitcases, but somehow they seemed locked in a bubble, untouched by anything outside this exchange. Dylan glanced toward the entrance, as though expecting someone else to arrive. Shen Yue noticed, and her lips curved in a faint, knowing smile.
"She's not coming," she said.
His jaw tightened. "You don't know that, don't I?" Her words hung in the air like a challenge. For a moment, they both fell silent, only the faint hum of the lobby lights between them. Then Dylan pulled out the chair opposite her and finally sat down. He did not look at her right away. Instead, he set a small, folded piece of paper on the table, sliding it toward her without a word. Shen Yue hesitated before unfolding it. As her eyes traced the handwriting, something in her expression shifted. Her fingers tightened around the edges of the page, and for the first time since he arrived, her composure cracked. "This is not possible," she murmured, her voice nearly breaking. "It's the only truth left," Dylan replied. The sound of his voice, calm but layered with something unspoken, left her frozen. She read the note again, as though the words might rearrange themselves into something she could accept. But they did not. Finally, she looked at him, the weight of years of secrets settling between them. "If this is true, everything changes." Dylan leaned back, his gaze locked on hers, a faint shadow of regret crossing his face. "It already has." Somewhere across the lobby, a flash went off. Someone had taken a picture. Neither of them moved, but in that instant, both knew the moment was no longer theirs alone. The story was about to escape, and once it did, there would be no taking it back.